Um, so it's pretty hard to listen to Michael and Judy, both of whom I've heard many times, and not be struck by how many things we have in common. So, I decided to do things a little differently listening to Judy, because listening to Michael talk about the revolution, and then listening to Judy have the pictures of the street party with the independence stuff. I'm going to read a little bit from the pamphlet that I just wrote. You'll see why in a second, because some of the themes are about revolution and common sense and whatever. And this pamphlet is actually being distributed for the first time today. It's actually going out by email, probably by dinner tonight, to everybody on our mailing list, which is 30,000 people. And there's a press release going out and whatnot. So there are two things that we're doing that are being launched today, that and something called Bitcoin, which I am going to talk about. These are just things that Slow Money is actually doing today. I'm not making this up. Today we are launching these things. In the run-up to our, we have a big event coming up in Louisville, November 10th and 12th, which is our 5th national gathering. I think many of you may know the 4th one was in Boulder in April 2013. And at those meetings, well, Boulder we had 650 people. I think we'll have considerably more than that in Louisville. People from 36 states came to Boulder and several foreign countries. That'll probably be about the same in Louisville. And we have Wendell Berry this year, so I'm pretty sure everybody in this room knows who Wendell Berry is. But if you don't, I'll just say he's basically the Pope of everything we're talking about. With a small p, or Pope is with a small p. Pope with a big p or small p. Anyway. So, what I'm going to do is, I am going to blow through some slides. There's not that many, it's like a dozen slides, because I want, for those of you who don't know what Slow Money is, in case you don't, I just want to give a quick overview of what it is. It is about actually moving investment capital. All the ethos behind it, the vision, the mission, all those things are basically pieces of what everyone's here already talked about. But we're just trying to address the investment part, meaning, if we just oversimplify it, it's one thing to change the way we eat, let's say. It's one thing to change the way we make our purchasing decisions, but if we don't change where our money is, our investment capital, that's kind of a big problem. Because guess what? Everybody's money in this room, probably 99.9% of it is going up a smokestack in China right now. Meaning it's in a pool of capital that is investing in all the industrial things that we are all here trying to, as consumers or entrepreneurs, move against. So Slow Money is opening up that question. The question, where's your investment capital if we take some of our money out of Wall Street, put it to work in local food businesses? And for me, it's really simple. That's the one thing I can think of to do with my money. It's actually the only thing that actually makes any sense to me. It doesn't make sense from a fiduciary standpoint, from a money-making standpoint, but from an ethical standpoint, as soon as you put your money into the stock market, you're just going into all kinds of stuff that I would say, at least for me, I wish it wasn't in. But I don't know what else to do about it. So that's the basic impulse behind Slow Money. Let me run through this show here. Okay. So you'll see the affection I have for my friend Judy, because we both love pigs. That happens to be a 9-man ranch pig, and those of you who have ever seen me talk, I do this every time, and I always will keep doing it. I start with this slide, and I say, the first thing we have to do is stare the pig in the face. Which, to my thinking, it may mean different things to different people, but to my thinking, it means confronting the impact of where my investments are and how they are affecting other living things on the planet. And if we had more time, we don't have time, I'll just keep going quickly, but if we spent time and everyone spent a minute or two thinking about it, we could talk about what would come up for you. So let's do 5 seconds. Stare the pig in the face. It can be a pretty meaningful 5 seconds. All right, here's what a New Yorker cartoonist saw in 1970 when he or she stared the pig in the face. It says, corporate leaders gather in a field outside Darien, Connecticut, and one of them claims to have seen the invisible hand in the marketplace. You're supposed to laugh. Here's a way. That is sad, but it is also funny. Now, this is 40 years ago. All right, after all the mishigas of all the derivatives and all the crazy stuff, it takes on a little extra meaning, right? Where's the invisible hand in the marketplace leading us? I'm going to go through these really fast because I want to spend some time reading from my pamphlet, which I wasn't going to do, just because it's coming out today and it treats on some of the themes that my friends were talking about. So there's a lot of ways to talk about this. There was an article in the New York Times just the other day. I'm sure you saw it because you read all this kind of. I'm pointing to Michael Schumann, our next speaker. But it was just another iteration of this, showing how GDP, and in that case, median income, were diverging. This was done by an NGO called Redefine Progress. The top line is just growth of GDP since 1950. The bottom line is their way to try to measure genuine progress. And what do they mean by genuine progress? Meaning, if you were to net out of the GDP, disasters, cancer, all the bad things, congestion, sprawl, diabetes, you know, just all the things that we would say, well, guess what, these are sort of collateral damage from the economic growth. And if you kind of added them back in, you would find out that the way you could think about that bottom line is most people don't feel better off. That would be the oversimplified. Economy's growing, most people don't feel better off. In fact, a lot of people feel worse. This is only here because when slow money was starting, which was really a lot of discussions were had in 2008, 2009. The investing started in 2010. And this is from the summer of 2009. I'm not going to belabor this. It's just good to remember that the mainstream media have noticed the problem, because this is Time magazine, and the label on the hamburger says, this hamburger may be hazardous to your health, why the American food system is bad for our bodies, our economy, and our environment, and what some visionaries are trying to do about it. Time magazine. Pretty amazing. I mean, if you told people that it was there, people would believe it. And it was a very powerful article about CAFOs and feedlots and whatnot. 2 months later, this article was on the cover of The Economist magazine. Now remember, this was summer 2009, so the, whatever you want to call it, the Great Recession, the Great, whatever it was that's happened that we're still reeling from, everyone was just going, what the hell? All the financial people were like, where are we? What's happening? And this cover was there. It says Modern Economic Theory, it's melting. Was there because Jeremy Grantham, who's one of the world's leading money managers, he has about $120 billion under management, had written in his newsletter that the efficient market hypothesis no longer explain market behavior. Which, you know, would be like saying, I don't know, like a curveball no longer curves. Due to some, in other words, greater forces were going on and all the things we thought we knew about finance were no longer true. So food is broken, finance is broken. Well, that's just a great meeting we had. We don't need to hear about that. Okay. I wanted you to see this. These are the little dots of slow money that are springing up all over the country. We have only one dot in Colorado, even though there are 4 investment clubs in Colorado at the moment. It's good for you to hear that. One in Boulder, one in Fort Collins, one in Denver, and one starting up in Aspen Carbondale. I'll say more about that later if you want to hear more about it. So there are different ways that slow money is happening in different communities, but the theme is the same. It's just groups of people coming together to figure out how to put their money to work in local food systems in as non-fiduciary a way, I love saying that, in as non-fiduciary a way as possible. Meaning as direct a way, with as few experts telling us what to do, what not to do, getting outside of that mindset that tells you you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. And it is truly a hybrid of philanthropy and investing, if you want to use those words. We're doing it out of a sense of impact. That's another piece of jargon that's come along lately, impact investing. But we're doing it out of conviction that we can't wait. Michael was talking about urgency. Judy was talking about time running out. I mean, we can't wait for the experts, or certainly can't wait for Wall Street to figure it out. We certainly don't want to wait for the government to figure it out. Jill, that's not against the government if you're still here. A little less anti-government possibly than my friend Michael. I don't know, maybe not. But it doesn't matter. The point is we have to do it ourselves. Another way of thinking about it is, where's the money going to come from? I mean, Michael's stats are, I believe, correct, that about 4% of the food system is organic and about 1% of farmland is organic. And if you would like to believe, as I do, as Michael does, that there's a sea change is trying to happen, that the pendulum is starting to come back, or the pendulum should come back and we have to kind of hang on and pull it back. It's going to require massive amounts of investment capital to buy the farmland, to rebuild local food infrastructure that's been gutted up by consolidation that's gone on in the last 50 years. So where's the capital going to come from? The only possible place it can come from is us. To me, there's no other. It's not going to come from foundations, it is not going to come from Wall Street, and it is not going to come from the government. Not that nothing is going to come from those sources, but not enough of it and not of the right kind, not direct enough, not with enough nuance to help us really do what we want to do. Now that's said from the top down. If you say it from the other side, it makes more sense. Don't you want to take some of your money out of that crazy shit and put it to work in something you understand that is directly, that's tangible and healthy? So, you know, it doesn't matter which way you approach it, you get to the same place. So we now have, we've passed $38 million into 350 small food enterprises. This is since June of 2010. You could say that's pathetically small and kind of fragmented and pitiful, or you could say it's a beautiful start or something. I prefer to think it's the latter. Thank you. We have 20 networks, 13 investment clubs, and 30,000 people who signed the Slow Money Principles. And I know for this crowd, we don't really need these slides, but these are just a very few quick examples of the things people are investing in and how much. So $125,000 to a vegetable processing facility in Maine. An organic grain mill startup in Maine. Pretty cool. And a lot more money's gone in already than this slide shows. North Carolina, so those deals were a little bit more towards the angel end, 125,000 or several hundred thousand. The largest slow money check that's been written is $3 million check from one person into one deal. And the smallest is like like several people putting in a few $1,000s into something, like building a new house or something. So most of it is very small. Make that very clear. Most of it is very small, very grassroots. But the unusual thing is we do have very wealthy angel investors and very small local grassroots things, and we're all together figuring out what to do. The reason I said that is this will give you an idea of some of the smaller stuff. This is North Carolina. 5 slow money members, long t-shirt company, TS Designs, $30,000. Read the rest of that and have your mind blown. To finance the first certified organic cotton crop grown in that state. That is both pathetic and beautiful, right? That a few ragtag investors will be doing that. At least we did it. They did it. North Carolina's 16th loan went to a cold storage truck at a small distribution company. 4 individuals together loaned $14,000. And then a $2,500 loan, I don't know if that's from one person, that could be from a couple of people, actually, I don't know that, to Aaron Carpenter to build storage unit for winter greens. So I just wanted you to see that it's everything from, things that are getting a little bit larger all the way down to a lot of very small things. $82,000 in Northern California for a food delivery service attached to a big CSA. I was just in Vermont, so that's why I put this back in, actually. This is the most iconic example of a small sustainable food enterprise that I have had the pleasure of knowing. It's called Butterworks Farm. It's in northern Vermont. It's a one-family farm, 350 acres, just below the Canadian border. They grow all their own feed for their cattle and make as much yogurt as they can make on that one piece of land, which happens to be $1 million a year of yogurt. And it distributes about as far away as Boston. So a lot of things we could talk about there, but I don't have time, so I won't belabor it. This is my last slide. This is the thing that is launched today. The newsletters, our thing is going out probably by dinner tonight. So we are starting something today called Bitcoin. How many people here know Bitcoin? All right. Any questions? It is the opposite of Bitcoin. Now, it is interesting. There is actually a Bitcoin.com. We're going to get a little trouble on this probably, which is just a website that tracks the price fluctuations of Bitcoin. Now, I have no idea why this guy called it Bitcoin, but I'm going to find out because he's going to be in touch with us soon. And people have already tweeted this stuff because I talked about this in Vermont 2 days ago and it went out like really fast. So he did not register the name Bitcoin and he did not take the domain name Bitcoin.org. So we are Bitcoin.org. So do not go to Bitcoin.com unless you want to see the price fluctuations of Bitcoin. If you would like to chip in a little philanthropic money to some of the entrepreneurs that are going to be presenting in Louisville, you will want to go to Bitcoin.org. All this is at the moment a very hopefully catchy little thing that may or may not go somewhere. But the catchy little thing is we have a website that actually went live like at lunch today. And our notice is going out later. Bitcoin.org. It's basically lives at that website will take you to a page on the Slow Money site. And for $25 or more, tax deductible, you can chip in, then you can vote for one of the entrepreneurs. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't planning to do it, so I don't have the slides up here to show you, but we've just picked 20 entrepreneurs from all over the country who will be showing on the stage in Louisville. Those of you who know how we do our events, we have talks like this one day, and the next day we get all the entrepreneurs up there who are pitching for money. So we have 20 very cool food entrepreneurs, not as cool as Judy, but who knows, it might be the next Judy, you never know. They're pretty cool. From all over the country, all aspects of local food, everything from very tiny little things to things that are not so tiny, like the largest certified organic farm in Georgia, which is a $25 million diversified livestock operation. But everything in between from all over on the stage. And if you buy a Bitcoin for $25 or more, you will be able to vote on where the first place Bitcoin winner will get 80% of the proceeds, and the second place will get 20%. So it's really just a little crowdfunding thing at the moment, with a lot of potential. There's already a lot of ideas about where this could go, but first we got to go to first base. So first base is getting to Louisville, so we have a campaign that starts today. If you're on our mailing list, you will get this. If you're not, go to slowmoney.org and sign the Slow Money Principles, and then you'll get it. Or you can just go to, as of today, after you saying it's bitcoin.org, and you can find out about it. You're doing it right now? Right on. Judy's buying a Bitcoin. So a few people have already bought them. I mean, the minute we started, so a few of my friends, one bought one for 1,000, somebody for 5,000. The only way this is going to work is a lot of people do $25 and $50. That's what we're hoping. A few people will do more. And then we'll see where it goes after this. So I'm calling this like a philanthropic non-currency, or an imaginary currency, an imaginary non-currency that's more real than digital currency. I don't care what you call it. Let's get a lot of people to do it, and we'll see if we can make it be something fun. The thing that's been missing from slow money was an easy way for lots of people to chip something in. And those of you who know about finance know there's something called securities laws. I bet you Michael will bring them up. I don't know exactly what you're going to talk about today, but so you always bump into all kinds of little dead ends and cul-de-sacs of things that are easy to do, not easy to do by securities laws. So we are doing this as a nonprofit, so you just sidestep, it's not a security, it's a donation, but then you get to vote, helping directly with money. Everybody who's in the room in Louisville, I want you to feel how this would work. Let's imagine we had entrepreneurs on the stage here today, and we had 1,000 people from Colorado who weren't here had bought Bitcoin, I gotta get used to saying it. And then everybody who's in the room gets to vote, one vote, and everybody who bought a Bitcoin gets one vote, whether they put $25 in or $25,000, one vote. It's the opposite of the way our politics works in this country. Just like to point that out. So one person, one vote, and then whoever wins would get the money. Now how are they going to get the money? They're going to get it as 0% 3-year loans. So think about that. The money's going to go to the two winners in the form of a 0% 3-year loan subordinated to everything else. So if and when they pay it back, hopefully, we can recycle it and give it back to some other entrepreneur. So the money stays in, it's just like a permanent fund. So donations in, 0% loans out. That's about as non-fiduciary of a thing, and it's done by voting, right? So I'm not in charge, I'm not picking the winners and losers. That's about as non-fiduciary thing as I could dream up. Now we just got to make it work. So stay tuned. We'll see if that goes anywhere. Next year you can either laugh at me or laugh with me or whatever. So now I'm going to read a little bit from this pamphlet just because I really feel compelled to do it after those sets of remarks. So you just have to bear with me a little bit because this is not really written to be read per se. It's I read out loud, sorry. Thank you for laughing. It was not written by me to read it out loud. Hopefully you will read it online. So the name of the pamphlet, this is a little bit, you have to see it, it's a little bit of a play. It's called Commons Nth, nth meaning like nth degree, commons to the nth degree, which those of you with an ear will know is a pun on common sense. The subtitle is Common Sense for a Post-Wall Street World. And the subtitle, which I knew you were waiting for, is a simple, pragmatic, and neighborly call to action for the age after road computer algorithms, CDOs, GMOs, high fructose corn syrup, food deserts, desert storms, and all those endowments, pension funds, mutual funds, and other ungodly, humongous institutional pools of capital that are about to discover conscientious investing, saying no to oil, yes to soil. Yeah. Maybe I can't read it out loud. That's empowering. All right, so I'm going to read you the first page, and then I just want to jump around a couple of pages, then I'll stop because of time. So this is going to be a little disjointed. I wasn't planning to do this. When Thomas Paine's Common Sense went viral and sparked the American Revolution, you can see why I wanted to read this after what Michael said. And Judy too. More than a century before the first virus was discovered, and 2 centuries before the term viral would cause a gleam in the first blogger's eye, it set us upon a course of national self-discovery that produced historic benefits galore, but ultimately left us short of that elusive goal, common sense. Perched today on the cusp of the information age and whatever comes next, it seems that we are still engaged in a great historical exercise of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Things grow faster and faster, bigger and bigger, and more global. We generate and sort and transmit more data that could even have been imagined only a generation ago. Yet are we becoming more secure, more prudent, and more understanding? The separation of church and state in 1776 was prescient and gave birth to modern history's most dynamic experiment in democracy. We got the politics and the economics wonderfully right for their time and place, that is, but ultimately paid a price in terms of culture. What could not be seen at the outset now looms large. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness cannot live with and cannot live without. Love thy neighbor as thyself, and thou shalt not kill. It is also thus with democracy and capitalism. These have been awfully exciting and wildly fruitful courtships. Yet in the early years of the 21st century, the national family, not the nation as a political entity, but the nation as a multicultural family joined by ties of affection and shared values, is straining to the breaking point. We need to discover a new kind of common sense. Common sense that can bring people together after the tragedy of the commons and the age of exponential growth. Common sense for an age in which capital markets, technological innovation, and population have exploded. But so have military industrialism, fundamentalism, video gameism, Twinkieism, terrorism. On the one hand, this new common sense is as simple as bringing some of our money back down to earth. On the other, it is as nuanced as the thread of a conversation that started when the first hunter-gatherers settled down in the Fertile Crescent and started to grow wheat. This is a conversation about food, place, soil. It is a conversation about monoculture and diversity. It is a conversation about what we kill and what we grow. It is a conversation about the collateral damage caused by economic growth and how we use our wealth. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do from the beginning. I said this was going to be disjointed, and it is going to be. Let me just scroll down a little bit. It does introduce Bitcoin, so it has a little fun. It's not all serious. And that is really important to me. You'll notice if you read some of those, I mean, come on. It says the beet is the most intense of vegetables, Tom Robbins, on a thing that is supposed to have something to do with money. So it is, we are supposed to have a little fun, even though these issues are very daunting and serious. All right, so here's something that's, okay, before I get to something else fun, I have to read this Wendell Berry quote after when I was listening to Michael. So I have some Wendell Berry quotes in here, of course. So this is Wendell Berry. We are involved in a profound failure of imagination. Most of us cannot imagine the wheat beyond the bread, or the farmer beyond the wheat, or the farm beyond the farmer, or the history beyond the farm. Most people cannot imagine the forest and the forest economy that produced their houses and furniture and paper, or the landscapes, the streams, and the weather that fill their pitchers and bathtubs and swimming pools with water. Most people appear to assume that when they have paid their money for these things, they have entirely met their obligations. One way we could describe the task ahead of us is by saying that we need to enlarge the consciousness and the conscience of the economy. Our economy needs to know and care what it is doing. This is revolutionary, of course, if you have a taste for revolution, but it is also a matter of common sense. Just share those Wendell Berry words. Okay, here's something a little lighter. Again, I'm just jumping around. Okay, I'm not making this up. Here's a headline. A venture capital firm just named an algorithm to its board of directors. Did anybody see this? Does anybody know what this is? This is true. I'm reading you this article. Not the whole article. A Hong Kong venture capital firm has just appointed an algorithm. I'm not making this up. It's pretty hard to read it without seeming like it's Saturday Night Live or something. A Hong Kong venture capital firm has just appointed an algorithm to its board. Deep Knowledge Ventures, a firm that focuses on age-related disease drugs and regenerative medicine projects, says the program, called Vital, that's the name of the program, can make investment recommendations about life sciences firms by poring over large amounts of data. Just like other members of the board, the algorithm gets to vote. Is anybody going to laugh, cry, throw something? Come on. It gets to vote on whether the firm makes an investment in a specific company or not. The program will be the 6th member of DKV's board. Okay, I don't have time to read the rest of this thing. That's the crazy world we're in. I did imagine a cartoon that would have, let's see how I said this. Imagine 2 cartoons. I'm reading out of context here. The first picturing a board table around which 5 people and 1 laptop are seated, with everyone saying aye. The second, the same board table around which 5 laptops and 1 person are seated. Good, paying attention. With the 5 laptops saying aye and the 1 person saying no. The ayes have it. Okay, so you get the point. Glad we get a little laughter here. All right, I'm wrapping up here. Then I get into a little later in the pamphlet, I get into slow food, slow money, slow church. So I'm talking about slow. And I felt like saying when Judy was saying we're running out of time, yes, of course. But sometimes you have to slow down to be more urgent. It's like sometimes you have to go north to get south, and sometimes slowing down. And I know there's all different words for the same thing. So slow food started off the slow movement in 1989 when McDonald's opened in Rome. And it's, I would urge anybody here who has heard about slow food, and I get in trouble when I say it this way, and who might have thought, yeah, I just hear that's kind of elite, and it's just, white tablecloth things, and it's really not, it's not really a serious thing. That means that you haven't ever been to Italy and haven't ever heard Carlo Petrini and haven't been. And I want to make clear, that's not my judgment about slow food in this country. It's just my acknowledgement that in the United States, slow food is going to have the toughest time of any country because we invented fast food and we are going to be the last country to really understand what slow food is. So they have a huge uphill battle here, much harder than in any other country. But I would urge you to check it out. Slow food is an international movement that has over 100,000 members in over 100 countries. Every other year, 5,000 people get together in Turin, and it is a life-changing experience. In fact, again, I know I'm trying to do this too fast, but Jack Glazer, that farmer that I showed you standing in that grain field, when I met him, he had a Terra Madre hat on. Just remember, it was all beat up, like usually it's a John Deere hat or something. His was all, and I couldn't believe it. I figured this guy has never been off his farm. And here is he wearing this hat from this meeting in Turin. I said, what are you doing with that? He said, it changed my life. So it's really a beautiful thing. So Slow Food has a manifesto that they wrote in 1989, and one of the lines in it says, our defense should begin at the table with slow food. It talks about fast life and mechanization and industrialization, whatever. So that's a long setup to get to my last thing I want to read you. Our defense must then proceed from the dinner table to the investment portfolio. The following 40-year-old New Yorker cartoon, and I have that cartoon in this pamphlet, so that was fortunate. The cartoon that showed people pointing into the distance. The following 40-year-old New Yorker cartoon has much to say still about this process. Even after the Great Recession, too many of us are wont to revert to a great financial exercise of pointing off into the distance, chasing what? No stockbroker ever told a client, I've got a few great investments for you in the next Fukushima and a new generation of diabetes-inducing food products. No, the invisible hand is far cleverer, far more insidious than that. What the invisible hand makes invisible is not market forces. These are wildly visible every instant on the floor of every stock exchange and on every computer screen. But our investments, and even us. Behind the veil of technology, we have succeeded in becoming a generation of invisible investors, for whom the social and environmental impacts of our investments are invisible. Invisible hand, meet your creation, the invisible investor. It is time now for us to declare our presence, to make ourselves visible, to become active participants in a vital process of cultural and ecological preservation and restoration. It is time for us to declare unabashedly what we believe and to move in this direction. We want to encourage more enterprises to grow deep roots in our communities. We want a global economy that complements rather than saps the vitality of local economies. We want to build a food system that is synonymous with soil fertility and health. So, what is stopping us? Not the fund managers, not the investment bankers, not the Federal Reserve, not government bureaucrats, not politicians, not tax incentives, not the IRS, not foundation trustees, not stockbrokers, not financial advisors, not credit card companies, not mortgage rates, not option prices or derivative formulas, not the legions of fiduciaries who stand between us and our money once we have given it to them. What is stopping us is that we are looking backwards. We are looking backwards at the age of Wall Street, rather than forward to a new age of common sense. Despite mind-boggling flourishes of connectivity, computational extravagance, and virtual universalism, it's a mouthful, we are still using our money in the most anachronistic of ways. We are putting it in the bank. We are putting it in mutual funds. We are sending it to Wall Street. We are placing our bets on the next billion car owners, and the next billion computer owners, and the next billion meat eaters to continue driving global economic growth and provide us with personal financial returns. We are acting with our money as if it were 1850 or 1900 or even 1950. Along the way, in moments of doubt and frustration, we look for people to blame for the systemic problems caused by our behavior. We must put corporations and markets in their place. We must put the investment bankers in their place. I'm not good at pounding my fist, it doesn't come naturally to me. We must put the frackers and the Tea Partiers in their place. So I can't do it. But there is no their place in which to put them. There is only our place, this place, the place where each one of us lives. So I just want to give you a flavor of the pamphlet. It's going to be made available starting around dinner time, and I hope some of you see it, and I hope it provokes the next round of collaboration, discussion, and rabble-rousing. So thank you very much.